You want to start us off with your hot or nots this week?
Yeah, I'll get it going. I got four this week.
Okay.
All right. So the first one, hot or not, the Cowboys show their true colors this past week versus the Cardinals.
Well, just go ahead and eliminate my hot or not. Let's say that is not a hot take. I mean, there's always that meme of the Cowboys cycle. We them boys. It's this. This is our year. Dak sucks. The team is cursed. Whatever. They're at that point in the cycle to where is Dak the franchise guy? You're wondering. They finally played a competitive game from an opposing team. It wasn't very competitive in its standards, considering the Arizona Cardinals are considered to be the front runners for the Caleb Williams sweepstakes. And then they go out and lose to Josh Dobbs, who started the season obviously in Cleveland as a backup, got traded. Josh Dobbs showed some good stuff out there. He got connected with his receivers, Hollywood Brown. He was mobile out the pocket. Cowboys defense looked lackluster. Micah Parsons, not really, an electric day by his standards. But the defense, Diggs losing for the year with the ACL obviously hurts them. But that offense couldn't get anything going. Dak, he didn't look good at all. And it looks like the normal Cowboys. They might get 9-10 wins regular season, maybe even 11. But come playoff time, can Dak perform? And I still think we're sitting here asking the same question when last week it was, are the Cowboys the best team in the NFC? So they dropped a tough one, but that's definitely, not a hot take at all.
All right. Next, hot or not, Justin Fields' time as a starting QB is over in Chicago.
That's just not a hot take, man. I mean, breaking it down, Justin Fields has not looked good. He's been unsure of his reads, bad balls thrown. They really aren't getting him running out of the pocket, designed runs. I think that's a huge part, the play calling in the Bears organization. But at some point, the quarterback's got to take accountability. He's just not making the right reads. He's not pulling the trigger on some of those passes where the receivers are open. Timing issues, a feel issue on the field, maybe lack of confidence from Justin Fields. But regardless of what it is, he hasn't looked good to this point in the season. Now in his third year, I think he started 20-something games, whatever it was. And Justin Fields, it's not the Justin Fields that was the number one quarterback at a high school, the top prospect, going into Ohio State, balling out at Ohio State, winning championships or getting towards the national title. So it's definitely, they thought it was Justin Fields' year. There was a lot of offseason hype. Is he a dark horse for MVP? Well, he's probably a front runner for MVP and not valuable player right now. So it's tough for Justin Fields. I like him. I really wanted to see him do good, but it's not clicking.
All right. Sticking in the NFC North, hot or not, Jordan Love and the Packers are the clear favorites in that division of their NFC North.
Once again, I don't think it's a hot take right now, man. Biggest competition, you look at before the season, you got the Lions, you got the Minnesota Vikings out there. But right now, the Packers on a steady pace, Jordan Love not turning the football over, taking care of it as a young quarterback. You go out, give your team a chance to win. And he's really doing that well. The Packers playing well on both ends. Not week 3, but week 2, they gave up that fourth quarter meltdown to the Falcons. They followed it up this week. Obviously, Derek Carr was hurt and Jameis was in the game. But regardless, come back from a 17-point deficit. That's a tough task, especially for a young quarterback to do. He went out and did it. The Vikings are 0-3. The Lions, they look really good. I could say that they're my pick to win that division right now. But, I mean, to say the Packers, aren't a favorite right now, you kind of just be throwing them to the curb. But, I mean, I got them right up there with the Lions, and we'll talk about it, when I get to my picks for power rankings.
All right, and then the last one, hot or not, C.J. Stroud will be the best quarterback from the 2023 draft class.
Not a hot take. Once again, I mean, Stroud, I think he said 250 yards plus each game, had a 340 passing yard or whatever it was the other week. And right now he looks like the best quarterback out that class. Bryce Young, obviously out last week. He hasn't looked better than Stroud. Stroud right now is looking the best. We haven't seen all the quarterbacks from the draft class. Anthony Richardson concussed. He was looking good to start the season as well. He could have been in the conversation, rookie of the year. And then, kind of a sleeper pick. I mean, not really sleeper, but Will Levis over there in Tennessee. He hasn't touched the field yet. Still really don't know what's going on there, but I definitely have C.J. Stroud up there as, definitely could be the best. And, I mean, he has looked the best so far. Best passer. Him and Tank Dell got it going last week. Nico Collins has looked good out there. Damian Pierce, he's doing his thing, getting his touches. And this was a team that was destined to get the number 1 overall pick. And forgot what player said it, but he said it was actually a gift, that they won that game because now they have CJ at the helm, kind of throwing shots at Bryce a little. But, I mean, CJ Stroud, definitely Ohio State guy. So, I got to rock with him.
All right. That was my 4.
So, I guess I have 2 unless you wanted me to ask you about the Cowboys and your take on them. So,
sure, go ahead, ask.
Hot or not, this is the same old Cowboys.
I'm going to say that's not a hot take, but I don't fully agree. I think defensively, even though they gave up, points to the Cardinals and ended up losing, I think they have a really, really good defensive unit. So I think they'll be really competitive on that side of the ball. Now, Trayvon Diggs goes down. That's a huge blow, but Michael Parsons, we'll talk about him, arguably the best player in football defensively, and you kind of saw how the Cardinals game planned around him, which shows how important he is to that team. I think their defense is still really good, but offensively, Dak Prescott-wise, I think you pretty much touched on everything. I mean, we still have those questions. Dak Prescott really still not able to kind of create outside of the pocket, on the move. Still some head-scratching decisions, just like when everything isn't going perfect and the defense doesn't give him a 2-point lead or a 2-possession lead, he's a different player when he needs to go make plays. In the fourth quarter, it's like his biggest mistakes always seem to happen, like when the game's on the line or that interception. It's like, yeah, you threw an interception, but when did you throw it? You threw it when the game was on the line, the time you didn't need to throw an interception at all. So I think offensively there's still a lot of question marks. Outside of CeeDee Lamb, kind of where else do you want to go with the ball? Michael Gallup had a decent game, but you lose Dalton Schultz, who kind of was a safety blanket for Dak last season. Tony Pollard still looks good, but there's no really big threat on the outside of CeeDee Lamb. So I think there is still a lot of question marks on that Cowboys offense, which will ultimately hold them back. Mike McCarthy's play calling still kind of looks like he's in the 2010s, kind of, not being as aggressive, which in today's NFL, you see all these teams, not all these teams, but a team like the Dolphins putting up 70 points. These teams scoring a lot of points nowadays where you want to see more aggressiveness, you want to see more creative, more innovative play calling, and offensively, I just don't see it for the Cowboys right now. Defensively, I think they'll be okay. There were some injuries, but overall, if you want to say this is the same old Cowboys, listen, I'm not going to argue. But I think their defense is a little better to where it's kind of different. But overall, I'm going to agree. Not a hot take.
I agree with you as well on the defensive side of things. You mentioned the Dolphins. So, hot or not, the Dolphins should have went for the record and kicked the field goal.
I mean, I don't know if that's a hot take or not. It's just like personal preference. So for me, I'm going to say it's not a hot take, but I don't think it really mattered. Like, it'd have been cool for them to say, yeah, they have the record. So, I mean, if you're a Dolphins fan, maybe you want that as a new resume. Be like, yeah, we got the only undefeated team and the highest scoring game like ever in the NFL. That would have been cool, but ultimately, I don't really think it matters. I mean, at this point, we know how good the Dolphins' offense is. It's not like weeks 1 and 2 they were like barely scoring and struggling. It's like out of nowhere. It's like, oh, this offense is back. No, we knew since last year Tua was healthy with McDaniels when they brought over Tyreek and Jalen Waddle and those fast running backs. We knew how explosive, how dynamic this offense was. I don't think having the scoring record would have proved anything. I just think it would have been like a cool stat to have. But, I mean, I don't think they should have. It's not like they did something wrong by not kicking that field goal. But, I mean, If they would have, it would have been cool. But I'm gonna say that's a hot take. They didn't need to kick that field goal.
You personally, you would have if you were the head coach.
Would I?
Yeah, you would have kicked the field goal.
I don't know. That's tough. Maybe, but I mean, I probably would have went out with class. Like, we already killing them boys. Like, actually, I definitely would not have kicked the field goal. Like, at that point, I probably would never even score 70. I would have just been trying to get out like of the game, like finish it. Like, it's over. Like, there's no need to play this game anymore. Like, I'm not trying to run the score up.
Mike White to Robbie Chosen, man. The score, I think that was the 70th, but
I'll support that touchdown. But overall, like, I don't think it's not like they had to score 73.
Yeah,
scoring 70, we get it, bro. But I mean, if they did kick the field goal, like, I'm not gonna hate. Like, yeah, I'm like, you got a chance, why not? But it don't really matter to me.
Yeah. Okay. My last hot or not. So, hot or not, a team besides the Jags will win the AFC South.
I'm going to say that's not a hot take right now, only because the way C.J. Stroud and the Texans are playing. I mean, you kind of touched on it, him quarterback-wise when I asked you. C.J. Stroud's playing really, really good football from the quarterback position. Coming in, you know, there were a lot of question marks. Can he create? He was kind of more the, like, safe quarterback, the high floor, low ceiling. But right now, the throws he's making, he's playing with anticipation, great accuracy, great ball placement. You mentioned Tank Dell. He's got a nice connection with him. And those weapons on the outside are, you know, proven to be, you know, sustainable outside weapons in the NFL. Robert Woods, he's healthy. Nico Collins, you touched on. So that team offensively, I think, will be able to put up a lot of points. And the Jags have looked a little shaky these past 2 weeks. Trevor Lawrence is playing okay. Doesn't help that his receivers aren't really catching the ball, and defensively, I mean, let up 30-plus points to the Texans. Couldn't really stop a Kansas City team where, coming off of that loss week 1 from the Lions, they didn't look great offensively, but they still found a way to get it done. I think it's more of the Jags shooting themselves in the foot right now. Lucky for them, they got a few home games away from home coming up these next couple weeks, playing in London, so that'll be cool. But ultimately, if the Texans ended up winning this division, I wouldn't be too surprised. But I think right now, you know, kind of relax, pull back the reins. I think the Jags still are the front runners. But seeing the way C.J. Stroud is playing and the way this team just keeps getting better every week, Stroud getting better every week. The Titans, I mean, I don't really see it. You watched that game last week. The Browns and Tannehill kind of came back down to earth. They just doesn't look like they have any options offensively. So overall, I think the Jags are still the favorites, but I wouldn't be surprised. And I think the Texans would be my pick of the team to win that division if it's not the Jags.
All right, man. That's going to wrap up our hot or not